Astra Travelers, and welcome to another episode of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast. Last week, we walked the line between this world and the next when we talked about Hu Tao and the Wangshang funeral parlor.
This week, we're talking about, wait, what do you mean Xinyan went to Inazuma? Wait, Childe's there? When did that come out? 2.2? Hey guys, we're recapping the Labyrinth Warriors event.
Looking for an amazing resource for visuals? Try our website, talesofteyvat.com, where you can find pics, vids, and snark, brought to you by our webmaster, Tiff.
Our site also includes links to our previous episodes, all of which include artist spotlights for each topic and some other goodies.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com. Let us know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. Additionally, if you did not know, Tales of Teyvat is partnered with the Shade Chamber podcast to bring you a Discord server where you can talk about Genshin lore, how much you hopefully like us.
The questioning.
It's always a question. I don't want to assume. People might be hate listening, and I want to make sure they know that I see them.
Damn.
But besides telling me if you hate me or not and conferring my worst fears, you can also talk to us about Honkai Star Rails and Zone Zero. I'm sure you could talk about Honkai Impact if you wanted to do that.
Oh.
That's just for you, Brandon.
Uh-huh.
You can talk about basically anything you want. So if you go to bit.ly/shades of Teyvat, no spaces, you can join our Discord server as well. So we hope to see some travelers over there. Don't get lost on the way and don't let Venti whisk you away to the Marijavari. But we're not letting Venti whisk us away anywhere today. We're going back to Inazuma. And luckily for us, the event that we're talking about, the Labyrinth Warriors, Inazuma had opened its borders already for this. So this is a post-Archon quest in Inazuma quests event. We are coming here after Senora has been yeeted and turned to dust. A has come out of the Titty Sword conscious realm and is chilling with us a little bit. She is apologizing to her people. Yaimiko is happy to have her girlfriend back.
The idea of the Raiden apology tour.
I mean, she really should think about doing that.
Is this AA?
She should start with you.
With me?
Yeah, you deserve a personal apology.
Oh my god, she's like, hello, Amanda. It is the Raid Shogun. I'm like, what type of fever dream? What did you guys slip into my coffee?
Imagine her apologizing to everyone except Scaramouche.
Oh yeah, she would totally. She'd be like, fuck that guy.
Well, she doesn't know who he is. She forgot him. So yeah, she's not gonna remember him. She has no voice line about him. She's gonna be like, who am I apologizing to? Who the fuck is this?
I mean, she would say that before the Irminsul rewrite.
True. Very, very true. So I didn't play this event. I started playing Genshin while this event was happening. Did not pull for Childe because I hadn't done the Leeway story quest and didn't know I was going to be enamored with him. And instead I pulled for Hu Tao because I was like, ooh, a ghost girl. And I'm happy, as we know from, last week, I'm happy about my Hu Tao pull. But I didn't get to play this event because I wasn't level whatever that you had to be to play. I was like level 1. Rude.
I did play this event. I realized upon rewatching it that so much of my child hate comes from this event.
I mean, even I can understand that a little bit. He's very bro-y.
Yeah.
He is a douchebag.
Oh, yeah. It was kind of, at first, I thought, I'm not the biggest fan of Childe just because of the Holy Way stuff. And that changed with Fontaine. But I'm like, am I missing something? Did the 2.2 event, did this event make everyone love him? And I'm like, oh, no, it did not. No.
I like when he's like, is being used as a weapon really that bad?
Yeah.
I think you have some trauma to unpack, Childe, and we got to stop this.
Yeah, and I think it's clear that he's hiding out in this domain to avoid, responsibility to a degree.
Absolutely.
So we have 3 main characters in this quest that are playable, at least people that we've met before, and that would be Xinyan, Kujou Sara, and Childe. So Xinyan is here. Xinyan, for those of you who don't know who she is our Leeway rockstar. And that's really all we know about Xinyan.
Yeah, she was featured in a summer event that we know that she had her Nobody Understands Rock and Roll in
She had
Teyvat.
her trauma island, yeah.
Her family thought she was wasting her time.
That was after this, right?
Yes. Hmm.
You've heard of Total Drama Island, but Genshin brings you Total Trauma Island in the second Golden Archipelago story quest. But yeah, so at this point, Xinyan, we've really not been introduced to. Then you have Kujou Sara, who is the current head general of the Tenryou Commission. And a quick Inazuma recap, the Tenryou Commission is one part of three that make up the Tribe Commission that run Inazuma. So during the Archon quest, we find out that the Tenryou Commission's person in charge, I forget his name, we find out that he was canoodling with the Fatui, and basically he gets like fired and let go, and his one son takes up the reins, who is also Kujou Sara's adopted brother. And we know that the Tenryou Commission is kind of a disaster post Archon.
Yeah, they're going through some high turnover here. We're like, how much connection did you have with the boss? Oh, too much?
It's a mixture of that and people being like, oh, we were the bad guy this whole time. Shit, I don't want to be in this job anymore. And people feel like maybe they can't trust other people that they work with because of that. So that's a little bit about where Inazuma is. And Kujou Sara is definitely over her head. And then we have Childe. And if you don't remember Childe, he is the rock star of Liyue. No, that is Xinyan. He is the man that did try to murder half of Liyue. I gotta be honest about it.
I mean, I think he tried to murder all of Liyue.
No, just half. Just half.
Just now.
There's a lot of people who don't live in the harbor.
He really only aimed for the harbor.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Okay, I get it.
So like half.
So people in Shinsei village were okay.
Yeah, they were fine. I mean, if they're fine, Mondstadt was fine, right? No one was worried about Mondstadt. So
Amber's grandfather was safe.
hopefully he wasn't visiting the harbor to get food or something that day. Like shit. But we actually haven't seen Childe since the Archon line when we start this event. This is the first time we've seen him.
Wait, can we also just talk about how Xinyan is Sandy from SpongeBob?
Shut up.
Yes.
What?
No.
Yes, she is.
Please expand on this.
Because she is a country girl in a land of water. I don't know.
She's country, she's feisty, she's optimistic. Sandy, it's Sandy.
Yeah, she's in an unknown area and making the best of it. Specifically, she goes to Inazuma for the Iridescence tour, which we've only recently gotten with Ito. If you remember the Paimon Ito ballad, that was that event, the Iridescence tour.
Oh, we had another one.
We did. Was that the Liyue one?
It was the last lantern rite when they find the Fontanian guy lost in the woods.
Margot Meatball. Yeah.
Oh my god, I didn't realize that those were both iridescent festivals. That is so funny. I was like, oh, a Fontaine music festival. This is interesting.
Right. And one, maybe Xinyan was foreshadowing or is just clairvoyant because she arrived in Inazuma for the tour 2 years too early.
All right, so if we jump into the event now, we find out that Xinyan is there for the Iridescent Music Festival, but they got stuck at sea and they weren't able to make it to Inazuma. So they actually sent fishing boats to Inazuma to report and let them know that, like, hey, this music festival isn't going to happen.
Yeah, it got canceled.
Yeah, she wasn't early. She just appeared when no one else did.
It's my head canon that she came early.
She did go early because she had Beto bring her over early. So this way she could scout it out because the Iridescence tour is Fontanian. So that's why they were also in a boat coming over. So Beto was just like, sure, here you go. And gave her like a bag of money. Was like, here.
Such a bit like she's the child to her Zhongli. Beto's a full sugar mama, and I don't know why, and I love it.
Yeah, at first I was like, wow, does Xinyan come from money? And then she was like, Beto gave me this money. And I was like, oh, Beto comes from money.
Beto takes the money.
Oh, Beto's wife has the money.
It really made me wonder, like, did Beto see the lesbianics happening in Xinyan and was like, here you go, baby gay?
Yes, I want that.
go live it up, go to that festival and live your dream.
I thought you were gonna say like she walked in on them, so she was like paying her off. Like, you didn't see nothing. You didn't see nothing. Here you go.
No, Beto was actually like, you saw this and you're gonna tell Yelan.
Oh.
We're like, report back. Thank you very much.
But because when we find her and we've learned all this, she's having issues with her fucking visa. And this is when Xinyan meets her girl crush, Kujou Sara.
I came here for the fire festival and I don't understand why it's not happening.
Oh my God, not the fire festival. She's like, they gave me bread in a cardboard container, but that's it. Where are the others? Where's Barbara?
Where's Alice?
Exactly.
I heard all these people were performing. Where are they?
Where's Hu Tao with her rap?
No, the Hu Tao can fucking stay home.
I think it's me and when I was watching and just wishing that Xinyan had a bit more oomph to her backstory, because we don't get a lot with her until the summer event, and even then I still wish there was more. But like there was a vibe with Xinyan and Kujou Sara, because like Kujou Sara is like they're leading basically a very dwindled commission, and she's looking at Xinyan and Xinyan's like, oh yeah, we'll do it. Fuck yeah. Like, don't even worry about it.
And Kujou Sara is kind of like, I don't know about this. And they're like, no, we're gonna help. And Sarah says, okay, well, if you help me, we'll get you everything you need to stay here. We follow her out to this domain. And this domain, because Kujou Sara specifically says that there's a domain that monsters are appearing around. And that's what they're having troubles with. So we go out with her to the domain. The domain is like a little to the left of the Grand Narukami Shrine, which is super interesting because it's a hop, skip, and a jump away from Raiden Shogun's second story quest location, where we have tea with the ghost of that old guy that's being shown through the ley lines. So I had a lot of questions about why the ley lines in this very specific area are acting so funky and we keep doing random shit over there.
Well, it's close to the shrine. And the big root ball is underneath there, causing all kinds of trouble.
And there's a lot of weird stuff over there. I mean, you have like the underground, I don't even know what to call it, like the underground layer that's there.
Ruins?
Where you go fight the titty sword? Oh, where the rocks kind of go upward.
No, where you go through like the giant circle door that looks like the ones on Dragonspine, and it brings you out to that like mechanical guy that's under the water.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it all starts there. And there's a lot of like ruin guards and mechanical like bosses there. It's just very strange, you know? It's a weird location.
It's very convenient.
It is. I wonder if that's where the Inazuma Conrian hole is. But we also said that it's probably closer to Watatsumi because of the Golden Rift Lord.
Well, no, not Watatsumi, Surumi Island is what you mean.
Yeah, I just meant closer to Watatsumi overall. So we follow Sara and we get to the domain, and the people working the domain are freaking the fuck out. They're like, they just rushed at us. We have a lot of people hurt. We don't know what to do. They went southeast. Like, the monsters are going to, like, basically run into, like, normal people and civilians who can't defend themselves. And Sara doesn't know what to do. It's her first time going to the domain as well. She's going for the first time sight unseen. And she freaks out and she goes, all right, fine. I'm going to leave you guys in charge here. And I'm going to go save the civilians.
The best part about that, though, is she says she's going to leave us there because she knows that we're capable. But, like, the dude who's there is kind of like, but you know this is, like, dangerous and there's all this kind of stuff. And Sara whips her head around, is like, don't contradict me. She doesn't say contradict. She said something else. But, like, it's so, like, oh, okay. She was like, I'm putting my foot down. I am the boss here.
She's like, do not question my authority.
Yes.
It's terrifying. Honestly, I wish I could give people a look like Sara does. Like, I wish I could get people to be like, yes, ma'am, just by, like, looking at them a certain way.
I mean, I sat up a little bit in my seat. I was like, okay, sorry. I didn't mean to.
I was like, sorry, Sara, sorry. Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah.
Yes, mommy.
So after she leaves, we end up fighting a bunch of monsters. And after fighting the monsters, we find, like, this cute little, like, paper samurai, which makes me think of Flat Stanley. I don't know if anyone else read Flat Stanley's.
Oh my god, you just unlocked something.
for travelers who don't know what Flat Stanley is, Flat Stanley was this book I read in elementary school about like this little cutout like guy made of paper. He has the same exact shape as the one we find, except you could color him and make him look however you wanted. And there were like books about how he was alive and he went with this like family on vacations and stuff.
Oh my God. I was like, Stanley from Monster?
Yeah.
Oh no!
I thought it would be awesome if it was though. Like it fake Stanley is now Flat Stanley and like going around with all like the kids in Mondstadt.
You could make a Flat Stanley like that if you wanted.
You can. They also revamped Flat Stanley, and now he has spiky hair.
Oh, is he punk?
Kind of like 2005 soccer kid.
Oh, that's interesting. Because when I was like reading Flat Stanley, I think he was like a ginger with like a striped shirt on. Oh, that Flat Stanley looks like he belongs in like Minecraft.
Yeah. I think that's what they were going for.
Not that there's anything wrong with Minecraft.
Wow.
I mean that. Minecraft's great. I love watching people play it.
Look, Ice and Fire is bomb-tastic. Mod the shit out.
But anyway, so we find Flat Stanley and we're like, oh, someone drew their Stanley as a samurai. How cute. And Xinyan is like, nah, this isn't Flat Stanley. This is a Shikigami. And she goes on to explain that Shikigamis are paper cutouts that have magical powers in them, and that they follow their masters. So they're like assigned a human and they have to follow them around. They're really known for protecting people. They usually have different like skills and abilities depending on who has created them. Like there's a whole like magical line of creating puppets, which is like, we know that already, but now there's more.
Yeah, I think Shikigami can be other stuff too, but in this situation, when we mention Shikigami, we're talking about the paper cutout with a consciousness.
I hate that. A paper cutout with a consciousness. What the fuck? And if you were curious of why Xinyan knows anything about this as a rock star from Liyue, she explains to us that she does a lot of reading and learning about folklore and different things happening across Teyvat because she uses it as inspiration for her music.
Are you saying that she's a whore for lore?
She is a whore for lore. She's more of like a history buff, though.
She is a little, cultural anthropologist on the way. She's like, look, I want to make music to resonate with the people. And the best way to do that is to take the stories that they love and put it into song.
I wish we heard multiple songs from her to know that she's been doing that. We just keep hearing the same one.
Oh my God. What if she did an amazing guitar riffed with a fucking power ballad just about Shikigami and how like the whole story of Taisho?
Well, first of all, she was supposed to write a song about us when we accepted this commission. She's like, I'll write a song about y'all.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We are. Oh my God. I didn't, after watching this over again, I had totally forgotten that she promised us a song. I was too into Taisho.
Listen, if there's one thing I've learned, it's that I'm going to be disappointed in Teyvat.
Oh.
Wow. You're going to be disappointed because not enough people die.
No. That's not
yet
the
to
only
be confirmed.
reason. I'm disappointed for multiple reasons, but...
But are you satisfied with the bootay?
No, there's not enough.
True. You know what? Yes.
There's not enough booty for me.
Not
Give
enough
me
bootay.
more.
She's not a
Booty.
Risley stan, so...
I mean, I love Risley. What do you mean?
I was going to say, we all heard Amanda's first reaction, all right?
He's walking around. I'm like, damn, I never thought a tour of a jail would be so hot.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
One of my favorite quotes.
It is Best Fiends quote 2024.
I don't know what year it was.
I think it was either 2024 or 2023. One of those.
It's 1963.
Yes.
We got the Best Fiends quote. Because we're time traveling in this game. Anyway, we get this, we learn all about this puppet, and then all of a sudden the puppet starts to move, and it's like, ugh. And also, when he talks, he has a beautiful voice.
It does.
I love the puppet voice. I also really liked the one NPC that we meet early on. He had a really good voice too.
Wait, which one?
What NPC?
Yeah.
The NPC who has a really hot voice in the beginning is Yatakoki. And he's the samurai who's like, oh, I can't really tell you why things are crazy right now, but you should go find Kujou Sara and she'll tell you in the very beginning.
Not the guy
Okay.
with the beard, right?
No, that guy's in a flashback.
Okay.
There's no beards in current Teyvat.
And Amanda was like, Sproing.
Oh my god! Listen, I like a voice. I'm sorry. And deeper voices are fun. So
They
leave me
are.
alone.
I want a deep female voice. I'm so excited for not long.
I'm going to put links to this event too, so you can actually check out how hot this guy's voice is and rate them for us. Tell us
Ooh.
who's got the hottest voice.
Anyway, the puppet talks and he's like, I don't know where I am, man. But my name is Shiki Taisho.
It's funny because his name, when I was looking up stuff, I was of course looking to see if there was a general Taisho. But Taisho means general, a very famous era in Japanese culture. It's called the Taisho era between 1912 and 1926. We had a very, very young emperor at the time, and this is when the Western culture in jazz was kind of pushed in, and that was clashing with the very traditional, what we would see traditional Japanese culture as. And it was just an amalgamation of amazingness, because they were the two aspects of American and Western culture playing in with the Japanese culture right before, the war. And it ended very quickly.
It did end quickly. It was from the time you gave the years.
From 1912 to 1926, which, I mean, it makes sense. That was about the time when Japan decided to close the borders and attack. So we won't get too into that history because it's very heartbreaking. But there were good times.
They were the worst of times. They were the best of times.
Yes. Thank you, Dickens. Right? That was Dickens?
It was Dickens.
Yes. Okay.
So Shiki is this is a domain and it's called the Mystic Omnio Chamber, and I'm in charge of it. But I don't remember how I ended up unconscious. I don't know where my master is. And he says, I just know that me and this domain have been in some sort of extended slumber. And all of a sudden I woke up and there were all these monsters there, and the door opened and they ran out. So all he remembers is waking up to what he calls a living nightmare.
Yeah, girlfriend has amnesia.
Yeah. And he even admits to us that he's really not sure if he's a good guy or a bad guy. And I was like, well, thanks for the honesty, I guess.
Do you think he woke up at one point and said, I'm flat?
He is. He's like, what the fuck? I'm not flat Stanley.
He's like, I'm flat, Stanley.
I'm freaking flat.
And I'm not from Mondstadt.
Look at my little flat hand.
He's like, what the fuck? He's like, if I caught on fire, I'd be fucked.
I do like though that his eyes change. Like when he's talking, he has two expressions, and I don't know why, but it's the cutest thing.
Do you want to know what's really cool about that? His eyes will change, his expressions will change, and those are Inazuma characters in calligraphy. And one of them's an L, one of them's an X, so it's I'm fucking dead. I don't know.
So we're like, all right, we appreciate your sincerity here, but how do we know if we can trust you? We appreciate you being honest with us and telling you who you are. We want to help you, but we're really not sure if we can trust you. So Xinyan says that music lovers all use a secret language to test people's sincerity. And she's like, it's an honest language. And she says, I'm going to do a test on you to find out if you're trustworthy.
I hate this.
Yeah, everyone's like, what the fuck?
All right, crackhead, you do it.
I wrote in my notes, Shiki's like, what the fuck? Question mark, but okay? Question mark.
This is just Genshin's version of Footloose, but instead of dancing, it's music.
I have a lot of questions about this power because first off, yes, Xinyan is the only rock star that we know. I guess besides the guy that Marco Meatball voices, but he doesn't count. Ito is technically a musician. Barbara is a musician. Yoonjin is a musician. I mean, Hutel begrudgingly is a musician. Venti's a musician. There's all these bards everywhere in Mondstadt. Can they all do the same thing? Why has no one brought this up before?
No, because I think Xinyan's pulling it out of her butt.
No, she says that all musicians know it. That's a grand gesture. That is she said all.
I think she lives in her own world.
Yeah.
Like Fischl?
Yes.
I was wondering if it was a rock and roll thing.
I think it's a rock and roll thing because, oh my God, I forgot what movie it is. It was a movie where there's a moment and you can tell who has the soul of rock just by the way they play. And it reminded me of what Xinyan said, but I think a lot of it comes from being able to play an instrument, because that is technically like almost a second language, because you can communicate through sound and through your chords. And so I would say probably Venti, and probably anyone who can like play an instrument would be able to do it.
So if that's the case, like, what can they tell? Like, can they tell if like Farina was a fraud god? Can they tell me if A's a puppet?
No, I think it's more of like, do you vibe?
I feel like we need to call someone on this. Like, we gotta call Metallica and ask them if they know how to do this.
Oh, don't call me not Metallica.
I don't
no
think
way.
it's specific to rock and roll, by the way, because Xinyan says that its music lovers are able to use this special language, a language that isn't used by ordinary folks. And the language can be transmitted to others via music itself, which, to give credit to the writers, I mean, that is a theme that resurfaces in Fontaine with Remuria.
Yes, that's true.
Like, so we do know that like music is a language in this game.
So it's actually a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Inconsequential, but you know, still.
I don't know if they knew that when they wrote this.
Or was a
stuff,
happy
but-
accident.
A happy accident.
Also, she like shreds her guitar and she's like, I hope your spines aren't shivering too much.
More like my ears, but oh well.
Also, when she does her little impromptu rock show, everyone like eyes wide open, they look shook, but then they're like, that was amazing. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you hated that.
Yeah.
Mouth wide open.
So looking at Traveler at that point, I was like, they look like, what is this chick doing? And then when they like were like, oh my God, that was so good. I was like, wait, what? Like, was that the wrong face to me?
Did anyone else get the image of Back to the Future where McFly, is it McFly? Yeah, where he's finally like riffing at his parents' prom and everyone's like,
You mean riffing?
yeah, riffing.
Yeah, they're all looking at him like, what the fuck are you doing? He's like, oh, I forgot I'm in the wrong time period.
It's like, your kids are gonna love it. I feel like that is Xinyan's energy. She's far before her time.
She's like, this music is for two, sir.
I mean, Yoonjin has to lie about like sneaking out to hang out with her because it's not traditional.
Mm-hmm.
So we go through this impromptu rock show, and at the end, Xinyan is like, the language was in, because we're all like, we don't understand, like, did it work? And she's like, well, the language was in the music, and it's going to travel to your heart, and then I'll be able to tell you what the color of your soul is. Well, fucking plot twist, I never found out the color of anyone's soul. I was never given a color.
Yeah, we weren't given a color.
It's because you didn't take fucking mushrooms before you did it.
Well, you're right. You're right. I know. I feel like we missed a step here.
We needed to go to Surumi Island to get the mushrooms.
I mean, I think Shikitashi did, because he started telling us about walking through some like open fields. He was eating grilled fish. He was by himself. He was sitting with people. He had this whole like, this was like a 30-second clip of music, and he had like a 2-hour monologue about what happened when he felt that music.
Yeah, he was like, I've never heard music like this. My body and soul feel uplifted by the melody. And then he kind of stops for a minute, and Paimon's like, damn, you felt all that? I just saw people eating grilled fish. And he's like, yes, me too. Lots of people were eating grilled fish around a fire, but I don't know who they were. And that deems him trustworthy.
Yeah.
By Xinyan.
Didn't it seem like when he said, oh yeah, no, I remember the grilled fish too, like I thought he was lying.
Yeah.
And maybe I was a little bit more sus on the paper doll to begin with. Like Paimon said it, and it was like, oh yes, I just told you this long story, but I forgot that one point. You're right, that was there. It was like, am I supposed to think of grilled fish? Like if she had said I like saw like people like roll in sushi, would he have said the same thing?
What if one of them was vegan?
Are there vegan people in Inazuma?
I mean, I'm sure, right? There's gotta be.
I don't see why not.
We gotta find a vegan character. Our friend and I went through Fontaine buying recipes, and we're very excited that we made onion rings. But like, we were buying up all the different stuff of what it's made of. Like, there are certain things that are just, just to kind of go back to Kokomi's episode, we talk about everybody loves fish there, but she actually hates fish, so she makes a sushi roll without fish. So now I gotta like go back through all my recipes and see if there's like a vegetarian version of stuff. It could be funny if like you make sushi with Komi and she makes it without fish.
It's just tofu.
It's just like a sunsettia or something.
Vegetables, a cucumber roll.
Yeah. I don't know if she does, but she should.
I mean, if she does a slice of lavender melon to like exchange for the fish, that would actually be very tasty. If you've ever had mango on your sushi, so good. Anyway.
Interesting. So we never find out what the Traveler thinks, just so you guys all know. Which I'm like, oh, the Traveler probably felt nothing and is not deemed good and trustworthy, but whatever, we're just gonna keep on going. So we entered the domain, we've decided we're gonna help Shiki find his memories, and Paimon's like, this is really the best thing for us to do. Like, we're gonna help you find your memories. I've heard about this working. Haven't you read about this in books? Like, she's very gun-ho about helping him find the memories. And maybe that's what Paimon is doing with themselves. Maybe that is also what Paimon's trying to do with the Traveler. We don't know. So we go into the domain and we see someone out of the corner of our eyes. And Shiki goes, who would choose to enter a domain like this? And then fucking Childe rounds the corner and goes, I heard your footsteps and thought, who in Teyvat would step foot into such a dangerous domain?
It's like, me, bitch.
It was such a mirroring. Like, they said the same exact fucking thing. I was like, y'all, I can't right now.
Yeah.
So Mr. Worldwide shows up. And we're introducing him to Xinyan, and we're like, oh, this is Childe. And Xinyan's like, Childe? Isn't he on the tall side? Because she's assuming he's a kid. Oh my god. The two responses that the Traveler can give back is he also goes by Tartaglia, or it's Childe with an E. I cracked up laughing because we say that all the time. It's like,
gotta make the distinction.
and so then Paimon is like, yeah, this is our friend Childe, and he shows up only when bad things are gonna happen.
AKA a harbinger.
Yes. And so at the same time, Traveler, Paimon, and Childe all have this internal realization, they don't say it to one another, that Xinyan has no idea that Childe tried to kill Liyue Harbor. And Childe is like, you know what? Like, in his head, he's like, I'm gonna be like upfront with her. I'll tell her the truth. Like, that, it'll be better to be honest. And Lumine and Paimon are like, we gotta make sure she doesn't find out the truth.
Yeah.
I thought that was so puzzling. Like, why is Paimon suddenly trying to be protective of Childe? I guess she's more being protective of Xinyan.
Yeah, I think it was more so for Xinyan, because I mean, she also accused Childe of creating the domain as soon as she saw him. Like, she's sus on him.
She's very sus on him.
Sus on him, but then calls him Big Brother right away. And then comes up with another nickname and calls him Red.
Yeah, Red was a little something.
She's very quick to be besties with Childe.
She was also very quick to be besties with a piece of paper.
But at least the piece of paper passed the music test.
Yeah.
We didn't get a chance to give him the music test, though.
Because Paimon tells Xinyan that Childe is our friend from Mondstadt.
Yeah.
And that he's an adventurer.
A Mondstadter. Not Mondstadian, Mondstadter.
So yeah, so we turn over to Childe and we're like, yo, like, this is why we're here. Like, yeah, just be good. We'll fucking work with you. It's fine. He says, I showed up here by accident, but now I want to find out the truth. And he's like super excited to join us. And he is really like interested and curious about Shiki. And he's like, I really think Tusser would like this.
Yeah, I knew you would love that part.
Oh, I love anything that mentions Tusser. So I was like, yeah, baby Tusser.
And as a reminder, Tusser is his little brother back in Chesnaya. So he loves Tusser and Tanya. He's got a bunch of siblings, but those are the young ones, and he dotes on them.
He says that he is unfathomably sorry for the trouble that he's caused in the past.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, here we go. The apology tour has started.
Well, now we got 2 apology tours going on at the same time. A's and Childe's.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hope that the dates I want to go don't cross over in my city. I mean, at least if one could do a matinee, I can go in the morning to like A's in the afternoon.
Double feature.
Yeah, I feel like I'd rather go to Child's in the evening, A's in the day, Anyway, so
Smartass.
so Child kind of puts two and two together that Shiki must have already been unconscious when Child entered the domain. And immediately Xinyan is like, all right, brother, let's get going. And Child goes, that's like a really intimate way to refer to me, but I'm totally cool with it.
I don't think he's cool with it.
And then because then he's like, and you actually remind me of my younger sister. And remember, Child's I think the middle child out of 7 kids.
Oh, yeah.
He has a third younger sibling, but we never know their name. I think that we've been told the name. We just don't remember it. I don't remember it.
Yeah, I gotta go back to his video.
His videos, his diary entries, his whale.
Because he's always talking about them two. Maybe the third one's a dick.
Or maybe he's just the youngest and he didn't spend a lot of time with him. Maybe he's like a baby,
Oh, could be. I like that you immediately went with, maybe they were just a baby when he left. And I'm like, he's an asshole.
Well, I've thought a lot about this because Child is a main plot point in my fan fiction. So I've had to put a lot of thought into what's going on there. Also, Child has older siblings, at least 2, if not 3. And we know nothing about any of them, not even a name. Child only likes the younger ones.
Yeah.
And I think that's because they're innocent. He's like, they're innocent. They don't know I'm a harbinger. We get along. So it makes me feel like his family's kind of anti-harbinger, Oh, not his family, but maybe his siblings. Because his parents signed him up for the Fatui.
At the very least, he knows what he's doing is wrong.
Right. He has a conscience, guys. Look at that.
We solved it.
We solved it, guys.
He sort of has one. He's like, I'll do really horrible things and then apologize.
And then go on my apology tour. I'll sign some books. Everything will be great. Everyone gets a Mr. Cyclops.
Feeny is being very kind because she knows that she's talking to 3 people that are not fans of Child.
Well, no. I am a fan of Child's. I just accept him for who he is.
Oh, okay.
I accept him for who he is, but I could see that there's another side, and that is also part of who he is.
I feel like that's a recent, though, change for you. I feel like I could probably find the date where all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I think I have to accept his bad side.
Well, I will be honest. Recently, my mind has been open to the possibilities that my character headcanons aren't all right.
Oh.
Like ALL space, right? Or ALRIGHT.
Space.
Okay,
There's this,
all right,
yeah.
got it.
I've been convinced. I can't believe I'm saying this on the record, but I have a different view of Nilu. I don't hate her.
Whoa.
That really hurt my soul to say out loud. And while I still do not like Arlecchino, I am understanding her better.
Mhm.
And also, I really liked Linny, and I have been convinced that maybe I shouldn't like Linny as much as I do.
Oh, okay.
So I'm willing to accept my flaws here. And so is Child. And so therefore, but you know what I can't accept is the fact that Child goes, it's the scent of monsters, the aroma of battle, and he acts like a fucking dog smelling bacon.
Because he got hard.
In the Arlecchino quest, in the Arlecchino story quest, we saw him be like, and granted, everybody who did this event saw it first, but because we hadn't, we see in that quest, he's just like, I want to fight. Let's fight. Who's going to fight me? He's out on the beach, just I'm still recovering from a narwhal fight. And, I'm going to, I need to fight somebody. But in this one, it's totally, he's like, my entire personality is fighting.
Yeah. And I know we talked about it back in our Child episode where maybe there's something going on with, when he accidentally fell into the abyss.
Mm.
And maybe that has somehow informed his bloodthirst.
Never forgot about that.
I have 2 kind of theories after this event, actually, which I'm going to say them now because I think you'll notice it as you go through the quest, as we continue to talk about the quest and go through the lore of it. One is that Child seems to feel like he is this paper puppet. He is really vibing with him and bonding with this paper cutout. And That's because we find out the paper cutout, Shiki isn't sure if he's a weapon, like a man-made weapon, basically. And that's when Child's like, what's wrong with being a weapon? Like, that's okay. And I really think the Child knows that falling into the abyss made him a weapon in almost like a post-traumatic stress disorder type of way, where he had to fight to survive. Skirk's a bitch to him. Like, she literally yeeted him like a fucking baseball through a portal. And I think that he had a lot of trauma down there. And instead of thinking, oh my God, I've been made a weapon of war, how terrible, he's just leaning into it because he doesn't, like, if he didn't lean into it, he might just start crying. And I think he has a lot of trauma from that. And he is just leaning into it as hardcore as he can because of that, even though you could tell he has, even if it's only like 1%, he has remorse. And we see that when he apologizes. We see that when he finds out Zhongli, went against him and like broke his trust. We see that with Tusser. Like, there are little slivers of humanity to come out with Child here and there. And that was one of the things that I found in this quest, was that he was bonding way too much with the puppet, with the paper cutout, the flat Stanley, and he really seemed to understand the way that the puppet was feeling. But the difference is that Xinyan, Traveler, and Paimon make Shiki feel like he doesn't have to be a weapon of war and he can go his own path. Where Child just keeps being like, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah, what do you mean? It's fine. Like, it's fine. Everything's great.
Yeah, and he's like obsessed with fighting.
Yes, I mean, I wrote down a lot of really great quotes from him, honestly. But the thing is, not only does Child bond with Shiki, but so does Xinyan, where Xinyan is like, I know the feeling of being misunderstood. And it's like, girl, you're misunderstood because you like rock and roll. This guy's misunderstood because he's a puppet made possibly to be a weapon of war out of magic, who doesn't remember his truth. I think there's a bit of a difference. But they both really try to bond with him. And I think that a lot of Child's character is built out in this quest, which is really unfortunate because a lot of people don't get to see it.
Because he's douchey.
Well, it's douchiness covering something else, which is what you told us, Brandon, what you hate about him. And was it last week we answered that question, or the week before in our Kirara mail segment, where you were like, I don't like Child because he's the bad boy with a heart stereotype that we see in all these games. And this quest really was showing that.
Yes.
But anyway, I gave you guys my truth, and we can now move on in this quest.
I mean, I get it. It gave us insight. Sure, he goes about it the wrong way, but insight is what we did receive.
Yeah, and Feeny, I love giving you shit about Child, but please know that I don't disrespect your love of him.
Oh, no, I know that. I literally had a fucking blanket hanging in the background while we recorded this episode. So, I mean, I feel like if you didn't, you would have just quit on the spot.
Yeah, no, I would confront you. I'd be like, how dare you like him? He's trash. Like, burn all of your belongings.
Now, I know if Brandon was worried, he would let me know. So don't worry, Brandon. But anyway, that aside, we go in to this domain and we run into Child and we fill him in on everything. And now we all decide that we're going to do this together. And Child says that magic is really important for Shikigami, and Shikigami are these types of paper puppets. And that the more magic that Shiki is exposed to, the more his memories will come back to him. And he really should be getting a lot of magic while in the domain. And Shiki says pretty early on that he's starting to feel better, which is weird.
Yeah, Child's like, fight more, and then you'll remember.
Yes. And that's when they're like, all right, time to battle. And that's when Child goes, it's the scent of monsters, the aroma of battle. Let's go.
And Paimon is like, I'm glad we brought Child.
Yeah, she's like, I'm really glad we agreed to this. And also he goes, I love putting my life on the line. I was like, oh my God, where are the therapists in this game again?
Yeah.
Are none.
Somebody needs to tell Dory she's going to have a new business plan.
I know. He just not to go back to it, but when he said that, I was like, oh, here's the self-sacrificing coming out. Like the my life doesn't matter self-sacrificial shit that we all know so well. So we end up fighting some monsters, and when we're done fighting the monsters, we find a copy of Shiki, like another paper puppet that looks just like him. And Shiki explains to us that there are actually a lot of replicas of him, and that if he absorbs the replica, he should get some of his memories back. So he absorbs it, which was like super scary, very like Fusion Ha from Dragon Ball Z. And he sees in a memory his master, Harunosuke. And Harunosuke was the first Omnioji of Inazuma, which means he was the first master of charm magic. And charm magic is what made Shiki.
Rest in peace, Shannon Doherty.
Mhm.
Oh, no, stop. I forgot about that
Sorry.
already. Oh, and we also lost Neil Simmons this week. Well,
Or
we
Richard.
also recently
Richard
watched
Simmons.
Richard Simmons this week.
But maybe we lost Neil too.
I was like, who is Neil Simmons?
What's he been up to these days?
Neil, if you're out there,
Sorry, Neil.
I'm so sorry, whoever you are. If you're alive, let us know. If you're a descendant of Neil, let us know. And so all that Shiki can remember at this point is that his master created the domain, created him, and lived in seclusion afterwards. So Shiki still doesn't have a lot of info. And Childe thinks the Inazuman authorities must have sealed the place off years ago, and he makes an assumption that the puppets have become monsters, and that's why every time we kill monsters, Childe notes that there's either shredded paper or they find a replica. And Shiki was like, I don't know, why would the paper puppets become monsters? Like, I don't think my master was evil. And then Xinyan gets kind of like defensive, and she's like, easy, Red, like lay off Shiki. I'm like, whoa.
Be nice to the paper guy.
It's like, shit.
And that's when they have this whole conversation, and Shiki kind of has like a little crisis for a moment about whether or not he is a weapon. And that's when Childe is like, is being used as a weapon really that bad? And Traveler like side-eyes Childe, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And Traveler's just get a little sus of Childe's intentions at this moment. So we decide we're going to walk into the next room because this domain is made up of a bunch of rooms. And when we go to walk through the door, Xinyan, Traveler, and Paimon end up back outside the fucking domain. And Shiki and Childe are not with them. And then we start to hear what sounds like thunder coming from the inside of the domain. We're not really sure what's happening. And then Sara is there. We're like, damn it, we can't tell Sara that Childe's here. And we don't want to tell Sara about a puppet. And we explain the situation to Sara without telling her about Childe or Shiki. You know, gotta protect them. And we lie and we say, oh, we haven't gone in yet. We're waiting for the noises in this domain to stop before we enter. And Sarah is like, well, I'll go with you, but then gets called away to escort some people who were wounded back to the city. These are the people who helped protect the civilians that were attacked by the monsters that rushed out of the domain. And she's like, fine, I guess I'm leaving you here. And then Shiki joins us out of nowhere. And Shiki talks about feeling very misunderstood. And that is when Xinyan bonds with Shiki about also feeling misunderstood because of rock and roll.
Mhm.
It's always the rock and roll.
Always. I mean, and I get it. Like, you know, I'm sure that that is a very valid thing that happens to a lot of people. And I think it's a great comparison because there's a lot of really high standards in Chinese culture. And I know, especially when we work with students who are transferring into like colleges and stuff from China into like the States, they actually have a really hard time assimilating because they have so much pressure put on them, especially male students who come from China. They are like afraid to fail. They're afraid of therapy. They're afraid of like letting their family down. And so Xinyan, being a character from Liyue, which is representative of China, having a lot of things to say about being misunderstood and not living up to their parents' expectations, I actually think is really beautiful as much as I make fun of it because it's rock and roll.
Mm-hmm.
It's something you don't really see often. And it's pretty awesome seeing that Xinyan's as comfortable rebelling against the norm when in reality that's like extremely frowned upon in IRL.
Mhm.
It seems like, I mean, we learned in the summer event of like, yeah, the people who say, why would you wear your hair that way? Why would you like be different?
And it also shows how brave Xinyan is too.
Mhm.
I mean, there's also that one part where Xinyan like turns around and screams, I love rock and roll. So put
No.
another time in a jukebox,
Jukebox,
baby.
Oh my god, imagine if that had happened.
Would have been so good.
But anyway, that aside, Xinyan and Shiki bond, and the Traveler really wants to tell Shiki the truth about the Tenryou Commission's involvement and how we actually ended up here. Like Traveler wants to say like, hey, just so you know, like we were sent here by the Tenryou Commission originally, and we don't know if that's going to vet out well for you. And Xinyan does not want to and convinces us to not tell Shiki. And Shiki is like, yeah, Child's still inside, but he says that man possesses an incredible aura. He is no ordinary person. And then continues to tell us that Child basically hasn't slept and that he's just been killing people in the days that we haven't seen him. Shiki somehow goes back in while Xinyan and us can't. And we split up. And when we meet back up with Xinyan a day or so later, she lets us know that she heard rumor that Sara is tied down in the city and that no monsters have come out of the domain. So we really should be good to go back in.
Wait. There's this one part I wanted to bring up, which is Xinyan wants to play new music for Chiki Taisho, and Chiki Taisho declines because he's too restless. And Paimon says, but you're just a piece of paper. Are you really more restless than we are?
He's not restless. He's rustling.
So she also has a really gay moment where she says, but there are some things in life that resist the more you try to repress them. That makes for freedom the more you try to tie him down. That's the kind of tenacity that gets me fired up. And then Paimon says, you're talking about things like rock and roll, right? And Xinyan says, right on. It's powerful yet flexible with the stubbornness that never surrenders to the challenges ahead. That's the existence I strive for. So that's a very closet case kind of language. So I just wanted to bring that up. Like, I'm also like, am now a Xinyan Yunjin shipper.
I'm dead.
I love it.
Because, you know, she sneaks off to meet up with Xinyan, so.
It's true. It is like star-crossed lovery again. I love my star-crossed lovers. But yeah, so after all these conversations happen, we go back in and we find Childe and Shiki. And Childe, you know, has been killing monsters this whole time. But in the meantime, they found a really strong replica of Shiki. And Shiki wants to fuse with it, but he wanted to wait for us to be there. Because he felt like it was like an important life moment and he wanted us to be there for it. Which is super sweet.
Yeah.
And then he gets more memories. And in his memories, they tell him that Inazuma once had this really terrible evil that came and took over, and that his master had someone close to him taken away at this point. Now, we don't know much about it. We do know it's a woman. We don't know if it's a lover, a sister, a mother, a friend. We don't know any of that.
Somebody on a picnic blanket.
It's probably another picnic blanket person.
I think that's my opinion. I didn't mean to say it is because I don't know.
Which one do you think it is?
I believe that it is Kitsune Sagu.
Oh, interesting.
There's a lot of notes about them being acquainted and then closely acquainted. And even in like Yae-Miko's, like there's some assuming that Yae-Miko may have actually had some training by him and stuff like that because he was so close to Kitsune Sagu.
Interesting. You're right too, because the location would make sense. That would be interesting. But yeah, so he remembers that his master had this person taken away. And so his master actually went to Liyue and studied adeptal arts. And that's where he learned how to do his puppet magic. And he came home, rallied the troops, made Shiki, made the domain, and then made a bunch of other Shikigami for all of the troops. So they all had one. It was a one-on-one thing going on there. But Shiki says that his master left the domain and he still does not remember why. Shiki is definitely going down some strange rabbit hole, and he's having this talk with Childe, and Childe goes, which I think this is curious because we know Childe fought in the abyss. I fought in the fissures that lie between great tree roots, boundless danger, fatal encounters, and these are the ingredients I use to become stronger still. So I'm guessing the tree roots is that Irminsul? Is that he's saying he's fought like in the Irminsul root system?
Like the ley lines?
Would that mean the abyss is in between the ley lines? That makes sense, being that it's below.
It feels like the abyss is like the soil that feeds the ley lines and Irminsul.
Ooh, I like that even more.
Like, and he's like fought in that realm almost. It's very strange, and I was like, whoa, no one talks about this.
Exactly. But it makes sense because what we know of ley lines and them containing memories, it's kind of case in point. With this domain, it is revealing more and more memories as we keep touching it and like manipulating it to try and like You know how I don't want to say smack a piece of dough to get it to rise, but you kind of smack a piece of dough to get it to rise.
What the fuck does that mean?
When you're making bread, and sometimes you just gotta slap it a little bit. You gotta slap the bread
That's not
butt.
how yeast works.
Don't talk about your boyfriend like that.
What kind of Michigan bullshit is this? Slapping
That's
bread.
not Michigan shit. That's just me being a fucking autistic asshole. But also, it's fun because the dough bounces, and that way you know it's active and working to make bread.
And again, I will say, don't talk about your boyfriend.
I have never made bread.
Bread's fun to make. I don't know.
I don't want to make bread after this conversation. I'm like afraid to eat bread. How many times has my loaf of bread been smacked?
Unless it's made by yours truly, it's not been smacked.
I
Not
don't know if I
properly.
believe you.
Don't go to the BDSM bakery.
Ah, that was on my list for tomorrow. Oh, man. I have to go to the regular bakery.
Yeah, sorry.
The Christian Mingle Bakery. Damn it. They bake everything with holy water there.
Oh,
But they
no.
don't smack the bread. How else you gotta get the sins out?
That's valid.
They smack it with the rosary.
Yeah, and the rulers.
So they whip it.
Whip it real good.
Or do they, is it put inside like a bead of sorts?
This episode is so unhinged.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All that made me think is the sugar skull candy that they put in the piece of bread for Dia de los Muertos. And like, if you find that skull, you get a prize.
Oh, it's like the baby inside of a king cake.
Yeah.
I want to let everyone know that the first time I ever had a king cake, which is like a cake for Mardi Gras, they put like a little baby in the cake, and whoever gets the baby, like it's supposed to have a good year. First time I ever had a king cake, I got the baby. But I didn't know about it. No one told me that there might
You're like,
be a
why is
baby."
this toy little baby in here?
I was like, what type of weird omen is this shit?
But did you have a good year?
I don't think I've had a good year since 1994.
I was going to say 1962 because we go back to that one.
That too. I wasn't born in 94, so it works well. But anyway,
Jesus cakes aside.
Jesus cakes,
Jesus
cakes.
cakes, the wheel.
So make sure to smack your bread, guys. Anyway, so Shiki is not smacking bread and is having a bit of like a spiral breakdown about not understanding his purpose and thinking he's a weapon. And Childe again is like, being a weapon isn't bad. And Xinyan says, you really have to find your passion and find out what matters to you. And I'm like, this is a paper puppet. You just told him to find his passion. Is painting. Painting's gonna be his fucking passion, Xinyan.
Yeah.
What if his passion was intense Olympic swimming?
I mean, he died.
Exactly.
He'd be like all the Fontanians pre-our conquest ending.
It just shriveled into like a paper puree.
Oh my god.
So Shiki takes the advice of Childe and Xinyan and decides that he needs to find the last replica of himself and fuse with it and then be able to take control over the domain. And I do want to say, the whole time we're keeping to ourselves the bit about the Tenryou Commission, but now we know that this place was made hundreds of years ago. And, Childe already suggested that the Tenryou Commission probably sealed this domain hundreds of years ago too. Why do the Tenryou Commission have no idea what the fuck this domain is? Why is this not in any like written history for them?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
So it might have to do with when this kind of chamber was created.
How so?
So the chamber was created by our boy Kamuna Harunosuke, who was one of the last people to perform the sacred Sakura ritual, right? He created the chamber as a way to kind of like help the Tenryou Commission during the Cataclysm to teach them how to fight against the same monsters using mirrored illusions. And so when the Cataclysm ended, this domain went bye-bye.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
I think that's
Yeah.
how I remembered it.
Yeah. Toward the end, when it'll come back up when Shiki kind of goes through like when he's saying goodbye and stuff. It was started actually to protect where we, were concerned that it was going to be made to actually be evil and stuff. It was actually to protect someone or something or the people in general. And yeah, every time the mirror monsters, the trainees would kind of fight them. So every time that they would fight, all the little Shikis would learn something, and then that would actually get input into our good friend, our main Shiki, and he would kind of learn everything as it went along from that. But it was during the cataclysm for that to, that was kind of what was in the air over the area. I think he calls it
they claim it when the great evil had come to Inazuman's soil, right?
Yeah, and he says it was during when the god with the power of the Muso no Hatachi was running across the land to fight the evil.
Man, I said before we recorded, that I felt like I was really getting Inazuma lore down finally, and I'm not.
But that might be more like during the Archon War. So anyone who's confused, they don't actually say the cataclysm and the actual quest.
Yeah, they just say like a time that there was darkness.
Yeah, but I think we know that he lived 500 years ago.
Yes, because we know Harno Soke did the last sacred Sakura ritual, which was 500 years ago during the cataclysm.
Oh, okay.
And that's why the cataclysm timeline is there. Since we know the last ritual was either right before or during it, that's where my timeline is coming from.
Right.
I'm going to be honest, I was with Brandon. I thought it might have been the Archon War as well, but this is interesting.
We also don't know if he's extremely long-lived, so it could have been.
Well, let's talk about his humanoidism after we finish the quest, because I also had some thoughts on that, but you don't get it until you get the cutscene at the end.
Yeah.
So anyway, they have this conversation, and Shiki's really looking down on himself still, despite making this decision of what he has to do. And Paimon goes, well, that sounds like something Childe would say. And Childe goes, hey, I could have positive assumptions too, Like, oh my God.
Can he? I don't know.
So as Shuki gets ready to fuse with the final clone, he does warn us that he still doesn't know the truth of the domain, and he still doesn't know if he's evil or not. And we have this whole conversation, and he has a monologue where he's like, you might have to kill me, basically. I mean, that's the gist of it. And I want you to know that you have my permission to do that if it comes down to it. And Paimon starts sobbing. I thought we hadn't seen emotion like that from her until Sumeru, but she is bawling.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
It's also one of the only other floaty boys, or someone kind of reminiscent of her, right? It may just be kind of like a object. It's paper. He is paper, but he's floating and he's sentient and he's having a rough time.
Oh, I love that maybe she was identifying with him.
Because he floats and she floats and she's hungry, but he's very sad.
Yeah, I felt bad for Paimon. I was like, fuck. We got crying Paimon now. So we go through a door and we get kicked out of the domain again, which Childe honestly assumed would happen. And Childe and Shiki are left inside, and we decide we're going to wait again for the mechanisms to stop before we go back in. And we've realized that it's basically the mechanisms of the rooms changing within the domain. So Sara returns, and we talk with her, and she's like, just so you guys know, we're going to storm the domain once the mechanism stops. And then we also have this lined road of people a kind of far distance away from the domain in case any monsters run out, so we can attack them, keep them from getting into the civilian areas. And we ask why she doesn't have them stationed closer to the domain. And she's like, well, the last time that happened, they were stormed by the monsters and a lot of them got hurt. So we're giving our people more space to prepare, see them coming from afar, blah, blah, blah. And Xinyan is like, this gives us the perfect opportunity to go back into the domain and not get caught. This is when Sarah gives Xinyan the travel permit and tells her that she's arranged her accommodation so that she'll have housing and stuff the entire time that she's in Inazuma. And so we decide we're going to wait. We get everything from Sara. We go back and we find Shiki outside of the domain. And he's like, what is happening? I just saw a soldier. And we're like, oh, that's Kujou Sara. And we explain what Kujou Sara is doing there. And Shiki's really confused because he doesn't know a Kujou Sara, but he's heard of a different Kujou. He can't put his name on it.
It was also, could have been a rabid dog that trapped a mother and her child in a car.
What?
Could be that Kujou.
Oh,
I hate you.
I was waiting for it.
I was like, what did I miss here?
I was like, when did there become a car in Genshin? Are you in Bellabog? Like, what are you doing over there?
When the hell did Stephen King show up?
Listen, Alice came back with some books.
Yeah.
They're very good books. Too bad it feels like I blacked out from cocaine when I read it.
She's just she's walking around just saying red rum.
So we talk to Shiki, we tell him about Kujou Sara, we get the little note, and then we go back into the domain and we find Childe, who's super annoyed that he had to wait so long, like, for us, but it's like, I had a great time anyway, guys. So much blood, so much murder, great times in here.
Wow.
And he says while he was in there, he found 2 replicas for Shiki that he could fuse with. But Childe, at the same time, puts 2 and 2 together, figuring out that we've been working with the Tenryou Commission. And he realizes that's why we're like super anxious about figuring all this out, because he's put 2 and 2 together that Sara's going to attack. I don't know how the fuck he figured that out, but he did. Apparently, we're a dead giveaway and we have no poker face.
It's a part of his apology tour. He just knows things.
Yeah, maybe he's a time traveler. And he also lets us know that while he's been in there, he's had a realization that he's pretty sure the domain is actually a combat training ground. And he also makes like a quick note about how he doesn't really care for allegiances, but that we have to figure this out quick and do what we're going to do. So we then get a cutscene, which is a very cute little cutscene. And Childe, first off, just so everyone knows, he stays back and he stands by the exit. And I think a lot of people thought that he was going to run away, including Paimon. But I really think he was watching our back to see if Kujou Sara and other people or monsters came in. Shiki merges with the final replica of himself, and he sees a flashback with his master, where his master is talking about how he just wanted to protect her descendants. So whoever this girl who disappeared is, she has descendants, and the master wanted to protect them. There's a very like cute moment where Shiki realizes that he actually was the one pushing his master to leave the domain, that he felt like his master could find life outside of this now that things were fixed. He basically says, you know, everything is done, we're not needed. Then the master throws up this weird pipe thing that's magical, and it fuses with all of the Shiki replicas. As this is happening, he goes rosy-cheeked in the morning and bleached bones by dusk, and he laughs and is like, how true is that? And I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea what that means, sir. They never show the master's eyes during the entire cutscene. And we see him leave in search of a new adventure, kind of. Like, he fizzles out like magic and disappears. And Shiki, when he comes out of the memory, is like, I helped my master escape the labyrinth of his heart. And then the cutscene ended. And I don't know. I have no idea what that fucking cutscene means, guys. I'm lost.
I took it as Harunosuke was basically waiting for Shiki Taisho to gain a consciousness and like become, you know, its own sentient being. And then once that happened, he was able to let go and then died.
So you thought he died too?
Yeah, that was my interpretation.
It made me so sad.
I originally thought that he died, I mean, especially because he dissipated like that. But then like Shiki says like about the going on to other, you know, exploring other adventures, which I guess could be in the afterlife, now that I say it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought he was like, okay, what I needed to do here has been fulfilled, and Shiki can go do his own thing. Like, we don't need to be here anymore. Like, let's move on. And I kind of took it as I thought like he went somewhere else. Like he's, you know, maybe he's over in Fontaine helping the puddle people.
I will say that, you know, I think that his main goal was to protect the domain, and he was basically waiting for Shiki Taisho to gain the human intelligence to be able to do that for him.
Mm-hmm.
So it was sort of like, well, now that you have finally arrived, and like I now trust you to protect this domain, so I can now pass on. So he might have died, you know, before that. And maybe like his ghost was like still around just protecting the domain until Shiki Taisho evolved enough.
Mm.
You guys had a lot more thoughts about it than I did.
What did you think?
I had no idea. I was like, oh, he disappeared. Is he magical? I was like, is he a yokai? Did he just happen to disappear? You guys had a lot more insight into it than I did. I don't like, I was like, what? But yeah, that basically ends the event. You know, Shiki ends up gifting us a replica of him to keep with us, and he's like, "This Shiki isn't as powerful as me, but it'll be able to communicate with me, and it'll provide protection, and it'll be like I'm with you all the time." And so Xinyan starts to assume that, you know, Shiki's really sad that he won't get to see us again. So what does she do? She fucking jams on her guitar for him and uplifts the mood. According to Paimon, a song has never uplifted her like that before.
Mhm.
Damn.
And she's just playing guitar and there are mysterious drums happening.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
very like
Good point.
Ito's in the background just drumming and does not just is not aware, but is like, that's a sick fucking beat. Brrr.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so after this all happens, Childe is MIA, and Paimon's they like, I bet Tartaglia can dance, and she turns around, he's gone. And I'm like, can Childe dance? I don't know. But she asks it, and then he's gone, and she's like, that Tartaglia, like he ran away. And Childe's like, I'm not running away. I was just looking for a place to sit. Like he like comes out. And that's when Childe's like, all right, I'm gonna tell you my truth. And that's when he tells us that he's actually in Inazuma because Scaramouche has gone MIA. So remember, this is post Inazuma Archon, where we know Yaimiko gave Scaramouche the Gnosis. So Childe is there looking for Scaramouche, trying to find him because they have basically assumed that he defected and that he has ran
Yeah.
away with the Gnosis, which isn't very surprising to Childe. And he says, you know, everyone joins the Harbingers for a different reason, and every Harbinger has a different reason that they are here. And Childe definitely, I mean, he said earlier in the quest that he has no allegiance, but he also is very open about the fact that he's not a Harbinger because he wants to be a Harbinger. He's a Harbinger because he has ulterior motives, whatever they may be. And he says that every Harbinger is that way. So he's not very surprised about Skara, and he's like, all right, like, Inazuma's fun. I'm going to chill here, I guess, for a little bit and try to find him, like, bye. And then it basically ends.
He also asks where our final destination is. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what is that? Like, do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know our final destination?
I know. I was almost curious if he was asking that because he wanted to see us again. And I think this event paints like this really interesting timeline of Childe as well, where it's like, okay, he tries to destroy Liyue, then he is sent to Inazuma after Signora dies to try to find Scaramouche. He is still in Inazuma updates later when he's like chilling with Yoimiya and the children. And that's like when we've started Sumeru. That little like pop-up of him happened. So he's in Inazuma looking for Scaramouche for a very long time before he gets a calling to Fontaine. And I'm wondering like why he got that call. Like, was he really called there because Skirk thought he was the only one who could really handle the whale? Or is there something else going on? I mean, is he trying to find his purpose now? I don't know. He's had so many like things go against him in the Fatui since we've met him. Signora worked against him. The Saritsa worked against him. He's then sent to find Scaramouche, and he fucking fails. Dottore actually gets the Gnosis back for the Saritsa.
He also says, you're like the stars in the night sky, comrade. You never cease to surprise me. So they're setting up, part of his apology tour is setting him up to be romanceable for the traveler, you know, like they're making it very romantic.
I mean, I love it.
And all he's got to do is say baby girl again. And then it's like, everyone's just wet.
When Childe like showed up in the quest originally, I just imagine him like being like, hey girly, like walking in with like the fucking meme sunglasses on, like hands in the air, like I'm here. Bow, 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 bow. If only they did entrances like that. But yeah, that's the event.
Yeah, I like the fact that I'm sad that I don't have the little flying guy because he's adorable. You know, like he's just so cute hanging up there. You have him, right, Brandon?
Yes, I do. Shiki Kosho.
Bees is the only one with Kusho.
But yeah, I mean, did you guys have any other thoughts about the event? Like, obviously, I had a lot of thoughts about Childe and if the power of music can do more than we were just told. Why does the power of music never come up again?
Well, it does, and Remuria.
But not in an event.
It's not coming up in modern day though. Like what we learn
True.
in Remuria is like what happened in Days Gone.
Would that be in bygone eras?
We don't really hear any of that in modern day Teyvat. Like, I don't know. Maybe the Wanderer's Troop did it too, though.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it would have been cool to see that get melded into Ito's little music festival thing that we just recently had,
Mm-hmm.
because it would have made sense, like, to kind of explore that a little bit more. I do hope that they bring that up again. And as much as haven't been a huge fan of Xinyan, and I think her summer trauma island made me like her more than I did in the past, I think that, and I feel like I say it all the time, it would be lovely to learn more about her, and maybe see her in a different light. And with this being a limited time event, it's kind of like she disappears from everybody. She was in 2 limited time events outside of and then she's jammed out with Hu Tao and Lantern Rite.
Another limited time event.
Yeah, like there's nothing you see her in the actual story. She's just kind of there. So that would be cool if that kind of did have it brought back something. Maybe she'll go to Fontaine.
Yeah, you're right though, because right now we have no actual lore of her. She has no hangout or anything like that either.
Yeah, we just know she's the only one with a southern accent.
I hope we get to visit her underwater dome in Fontaine and watch her, eat acorns.
Oh my god. I thought you just said she was gonna do like an underground concert. Anyway.
She's gonna have a concert.
Oh boy. Well, on that note, I do think I hear the bell of Kirara showing up on our doorstep with a few questions for us this week. So we're going to jump into that. Our first message comes from Caroline, and they said, "Hello. Your Urabashi episode got me thinking. Is it possible that Inkanomiya is not affected by Irminsul? I wonder if the information from before Sun and Moon used to be more widespread until Celestia deleted it from Irminsul, but was unable to alter that specific book's history because it was from/in Inkanomiya. This might already be canon and I missed it, or maybe there's a reason why it couldn't be true, but I figured it was worth discussing. Love your show." I totally think that Inkanomiya could be safeguarded by Irminsul because it's in the Dark Sea, which is supposed to be like the godless land.
Yeah, I would agree with you that it's one of the reasons why even Urabashi went down there was because it was untouchable.
Mm-hmm.
So it would make sense that that book being such a big part of it and being down there could be one of the reasons why Enjo was looking for it. Not just him, but the Abyss in general. Like it's because it's kind of been left out, like, and just kind of like hanging around, kind of like, here's the keys to the universe, and it's all written in this crazy little book. Seems like something Celestia would want to like yeet real quick.
Would that also be suggestive that Conria can't be touched by Irminsul?
I think maybe it depends on, because Irminsul is very reliant on its roots. It brings the question of how far down do the roots go? And if Conria is, in the space above the Dark Sea, I have a feeling that Irminsul could still like get down there. But with the Dark Sea, we see a lot of different trees on Inkanomiya, but we don't necessarily see anything reminiscent of an Irminsul petrified tree like we see at the end of Domains. You know what I mean? So it's possible that it's just too far, but Conria might be just right.
We also know that Conria, like the curse that turned them into hilichurls, it didn't turn anyone into a hilichurl until they left Conria and went up to the surface. So I do think that it's untouched by Celestia. I think they put a curse like on the entrance to it, basically.
That would make sense, though. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That opens up the question again of, are there people behind that door?
Yes, I think there are. I hope there are.
I do too.
But who do you want behind the door is the real question.
I don't know.
He's like anyone but gold.
Oh, gee,
Is that where the unknown god is? The primordial one maybe is stuck behind there?
They're just stuck in hell, basically, for them.
Yeah. Because we know what Conria looked like when hell was unleashed on it based on that flashback that Traveler has when we see like the red sky and the cubes and all that kind of stuff. Like, I wonder if that stopped, because like we've said in the past, we don't know how long the cataclysm was happening. Like, shit was going on. It doesn't mean it only took a day. It could have been years. So has it all calmed down, and is the door locked because they found out if they leave, something bad's going to happen to them? So they're like, let's lock it up and just stay here. And if Celestia can't touch them, or Irminsul can't touch them, they're kind of like in their own little world there.
That's true.
Mhm.
That'd be really cool.
And then it'd be even more fucked up why Kaya's dad just fucking dropped him off and forgot about him.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he didn't forget about him. Maybe he went off to do some other important stuff.
What's more important than raising your son?
Turning into a hilly troll.
Fucking bitches.
Wow. Wow. All right. Well, anyway.
I was going to say saving the world, but okay.
I doubt. Do we think Kaya's dad is saving the world?
Maybe he's Piero.
Well, no, that was disproven. Well, maybe it wasn't. I feel like it was disproven because of Kari Bear.
Okay.
Right? Because we know that he has to be from the Albric lineage, and we met Albric and his son, who definitely has no kids. So,
but I still think that there could have been more to that name. Like, it's not just them.
like there's more Albrics. Like Piero could be an Albric.
I don't trust any of that family history.
Okay. Well, anyway, Caroline, thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next message comes from Tara. They said, will you be doing a Kaveh episode? I know a lot about him was already mentioned in the Alhaitham episode, but there's so much more to him that could be an episode all on its own. It might still be a little soon, right after the Alhaitham episodes come out, but I think he's extremely interesting in his own way and deserves his own episode.
The rarest character.
We have to do one.
I mean, we're already talking about going into Natlan and all that kind of stuff. And Beanie's mentioned multiple times that we know that Kaveh's mother's in Fontaine. Where is she? Like,
yeah, it's weird.
Someone commented on our Alhaitham episode on YouTube and were annoyed by something like I implied that Kaveh was like, I don't want to live with you because I have my own things. And then they were like, well, actually, Kaveh, if you look at Kaveh's character stories, tells a different story. And that's absolutely fair. And it makes me want to do a Kaveh episode. So, yes.
It's actually really funny you say that because Tara, in the email that they sent with this question, also mentioned that.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Yes. And Tara also mentioned, just so we can rebuttal, in the Alhaitham episode, we say that Alhaitham babbles on about how annoying Kaveh is, but it's actually vice versa. So when Kaveh has dinner with Kale, Tinyari, and Sino in Kale's voice line about Kaveh, she says that Kaveh rambles on about Alhaitham. I think that's what we meant, and we just got our words mixed up.
Oh.
It makes more sense that Kaveh would bitch than Alhaitham too.
Mm-hmm.
We have to do an episode just to correct the things that we got wrong and the Alhaitham episode. Sorry.
It's gonna happen. There's so much going on in this game and lore wise. If we were the omniscient narrator, we'd know everything, but we don't.
Yeah, we try. We do a lot of research, but there's still things that get out of our site, and also your own notes can get confusing. You guys have taken a college test or a high school test, right? Like, it's rough. It's rough in these streets. I've definitely failed an open notes test, so
we mess up sometimes.
Yeah, Tara, we want to do it. We're ready for it, but probably not this season. So thank you for your question.
Thanks, Tara.
Thank you. We have one more message from Mahogany C, and they said, "Hi, I just recently discovered the podcast, and I've been really enjoying it. I think it'd be interesting to hear you all talk about the La Commedia dell'arte and its connection to the Fatui. Do you think the play could be used to predict the future Fatui plotlines, or are they just taking names from it?"
So to answer that question, yes, we have. Wait, which episode was this? This was in season 1 that we did, right?
I think we might have brought it up during the child episode because it was the first harbinger we really talked about.
Yeah, it was either Childe or Senora.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of them. I remember bringing up the Commedia dell'arte and specifically of like how the names and how Genshin portrays these characters is either in line with the character or very much not. And a lot of that comes with of like what we have to show. Scaramouche being now Wanderer, it kind of is a null point that he is part of the Commedia dell'arte, but we shall see. We'll link it below.
It is interesting though, because we did talk about whether or not we thought things would be able to be predicted, and I think for the most part they're not really following the story.
Yeah, I don't think they are.
You know, it's really interesting because I actually just had this conversation with a friend about how Genshin a lot of times pulls from IRL history and IRL events to create things that are happening. And sometimes they do a really bad job with that, i.e. Natlon so far from what we've seen. They're not, doing the best representation. But they also pull a lot from things that aren't necessarily true. Things that aren't like scientifically proven in Earth. Like religious stuff. They pull from the Commedia dell'arte. And different poems. We've talked about the Ars Goetia. And it makes me wonder if they'll ever pull from, is it Lovecraft's demonology?
Yes, so the old ones. And there have been a couple actually with that. And that is something we'll get into possibly later down the line.
What Lovecraft things?
Azoth. There's a couple of like references to the old ones, and then there's also Azoth, which is like the dust of Azoth, and it's like the fuck.
But that's also hard because it's similar to Astaroth too, which is in the Ars Goetia. So it's like at least with that one they're going.
Here's the thing: Lovecraft, 1, was not original, and 2, very racist. So a lot of the stuff he pulled from was also from the Ars Goetia.
Okay. It's curious. They pull from a lot and they don't necessarily see it all through. Some of it they do, like we've talked in our child episode specifically, we talked about Ajax and how Ajax actually in historical measures had a sibling named Teucer, but I think Teucer like ended up killing him in like whatever history book it was.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know. They pull from a lot, and since every Harbinger has like 9 names, they could be pulling from 9 different places for their lore too.
Yeah, I feel like they're referencing it at a surface level and not necessarily going that deep into it. I think that as we learn and meet more Fatui, and we know that we're going to meet another one coming up in our next region, I think it'll start really becoming a little bit more apparent. But I don't necessarily think that they're not writing out the path of the story based on it as much as there's like little like linkage at a surface level to these, things we have in the real life.
Yeah, it's also the region of Snezhnaya is very heavily Russian coded, and the Commedia is Italian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're remixing a lot, I think, with that.
Yeah, or maybe they're secretly telling us that it's not Russia, it's Italy, and that the Tsaritsa is just like a Russian dictator that like came in and made Italy Russia.
Wow.
I hope you enjoyed that.
That would be fun.
But Russia did a full like we love France and did the whole French thing.
But they didn't say we love Italy.
We're gonna get to Snezhnaya, and the Tsaritsa is gonna be Navia.
Oh my god! If it was Navia, but in the taller model, yes, my love from Snezhnaya with love.
I'm fucking dead. On that note, I do think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you to our travelers for coming back in time with us. Time traveling, one may say. And thank you for listening to me tell you my truths. I hope that you can still accept me after all that has changed. If you like this episode and you'd like to hear more, give us an email at talesoftevatpod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. Additionally, please remember that you can join our Discord server at bit.ly/Shades of Teyvat with no spaces. And that is our new collaborative Discord space that we have created with the Shade Chamber podcast that you've seen us do a few collaborations with at this point. I think we've done 3-ish with them. Next week, we will be talking all about the Temple of Silence, and I'm pretty fucking hyped about this one.
Everybody do the
Cyrus.
Sino second story quest and be ready for us.
Yes. And also Cyrus's beautiful mustache.
Yes, we'll be talking a lot about Cyrus, the Temple of Silence, and all things secretive in Sumeru, honestly. But until next time, travelers, safe journeys. We'll see you then.
Bye, Tertalia nerds.
Hell yeah.
They're going to
Tertalia?
They're going to
Tertalia.